The story of this incredible escape begins on a quiet morning on May 2nd, 2006. The routine at the jail was proceeding as usual when a staff member, known as a paper carrier, arrived at a specific cell. In this jail, the paper carrier had a very specific job. They were responsible for collecting papers from the prisoners. These were not just ordinary papers, they were journals in which prisoners wrote about their daily lives, their families, and their experiences inside the jail. When the paper carrier reached the cell, he looked inside and saw something that stopped him in his tracks. He saw a bedsheet hanging out from the ceiling of the cell. The sheet was tied to something inside the roof and was dangling down, signaling that the integrity of the cell had been breached. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the paper carrier immediately ran to inform the foreign guards. This discovery marked the beginning of a massive investigation into a jailbreak that was considered unique and unheard of. What made this escape so shocking was the nature of the jail itself. This facility did not have a workshop where prisoners worked with tools. It did not have a warehouse where items were stored. There was absolutely no place where a prisoner could steal a tool to dig a tunnel or cut through bars. Despite these impossible odds, the prisoner had found a way to arrange for tools right under the noses of the guards and the jailer, without them getting even a whiff of the plan. To understand how difficult this escape was, we must look at the setting of the story. The prison was the Alton Law Enforcement Jail, located in a small town in Missouri, Texas. From the outside, the building looked quite innocent. Many people said it looked like a school. However, the reality inside was completely different. Built in the year 2002, it was known as the strongest and most secure jail in the entire region of Missouri. The jail was described as a fortress. It was distinct from other jails because its security methods were high-tech and advanced. The surveillance system was comprehensive. Cameras monitored every inch of the facility. They watched the hallways, the common areas, and most importantly, they watched the 9 by 12-foot cells where the prisoners lived. Life for a prisoner at Alton was extremely restrictive. They spent 23 hours a day locked inside these small cells. Because the CCTV cameras were installed inside the living quarters, hiding was considered impossible. To ensure that darkness never provided a cover for illegal activities, the lights in the jail never went out. In addition to the electronic surveillance, the physical security was relentless. The guards performed a search of every prisoner's bed every single hour. They checked to ensure that the prisoners were not hiding anything illegal or planning anything suspicious. Because of these strict measures, no prisoner had ever successfully escaped from Alton Jail until this event occurred. The man who challenged this perfect system was Conte Adams. Conte was different from the other prisoners. His mind worked in a unique way, constantly thinking of things that others could not imagine. Conte's life in the world of crime began early. At the age of 12, he joined a criminal gang called the Compton Crips. This gang operated in California and was infamous for committing crimes. The narrative notes that this was the same gang started by Orlando Anderson, the man accused of killing the famous rapper Tupac Shakur. The gang was full of black people involved in drug dealing, and young Conte looked up to them, considering these powerful criminals as his role models. By the year 2004, Conte had become deeply involved in the drug trade. This was the year he attempted the biggest marijuana deal of his life. The deal was valued at approximately $1.4 million. However, Conte was unaware that the FBI had received intelligence about this deal beforehand. They conducted a sting operation and caught him red-handed during the transaction. Because of his involvement in such a massive drug deal, the court sentenced him to 35 years in prison. He was sent to Alton Jail to serve his sentence. As soon as Conte stepped into the jail, his mind began working on escape strategies. He sat in his cell, constantly thinking about how to get out. The driving force behind his desperation came from a piece of news he received on the night of his arrest. He learned that his wife was pregnant and that he was going to be a father. This news changed everything for Conte. He decided that he would not be a father from behind bars. He wanted to give his child a life far away from the world of crime and far away from jails. He knew that he had no other option left but to escape. Because the cameras were watching him and the other prisoners at all times, Conte had to be extremely observant. He watched the guards, the walls, and the entry and exit routes with great attention to detail. One night, while lying in his cell, he noticed something that brought a sparkle to his eyes. He smelled the scent of rain coming from the exhaust vent installed in the ceiling of his cell. This scent told him everything he needed to know. It confirmed that the exhaust vent led directly to the outside world. He realized that if he could find a way through this vent, he might succeed in escaping. Although Conte had found a potential exit, he faced massive problems. The exhaust vent was in the ceiling, which was reinforced with steel bars. Furthermore, the CCTV cameras were watching him constantly. He did not know where to begin his plan until he spotted a weakness in the surveillance. He noticed a corner of the cell located directly behind the CCTV camera. This was a blind spot where the camera's eye could not see. Although this area was only 12 inches wide, it was enough for Conte. He decided to start his planning from this small corner. To cut the steel bars, he needed a saw, but there were no tools in the jail. This is where Conte came up with a genius idea. He wrote a letter to his cousin from jail. On the letter, he placed a stamp ticket. Postage stamp. Underneath the stamp ticket, he had written a coded message. The message instructed his cousin to hide a small saw inside a book and send it to him in jail. This was incredibly risky because every parcel entering Alton jail was checked meticulously. If the saw was caught during the check, Conte's plan would fail completely. Conte watched from his cell, his body trembling with fear as the book arrived. However, luck was on his side. The guard handed the book to another prisoner without checking it properly, and that prisoner delivered it to Conte. Conte now had the saw in his hand and had crossed the first hurdle of his escape. Possessing the saw was not enough. Conte needed a strategy to use it without being caught. The security was tight, and beds were checked every hour. Additionally, the doors had loud alarm systems. Conte began to listen carefully to the footsteps of the guards. He tracked how long they took to patrol. He discovered that there was a gap of 60 seconds between each guard passing his cell. Conte used these 60-second intervals to work. As soon as a guard passed, he would cut the ceiling bit by bit. He had to remain alert to ensure no noise was made. It was a risky job, but he continued cutting continuously because he wanted to escape at any cost. As the weeks passed, cracks began to appear in the ceiling where he was cutting. These cracks were becoming harder to hide. To solve this, Conte found a genius way. He mixed his soap and toothpaste to create a paste. The color of this mixture matched the ceiling perfectly. He knew that the guards checked every corner of the cells on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On these days before the guards arrived, he would apply the paste to the cracks to hide them. As soon as the guards left, he would start cutting again. Within just 6 weeks, Conte had made an oval-shaped hole in the ceiling using the saw. He could now crawl into the ceiling. However, the piece of ceiling he cut out, the plate, would not fit back in securely. He balanced it in the hole, but the slightest touch could make it fall. If it fell, it would trigger the alarm sensors on the gate. Eventually, what Conte feared happened. The plate fell from the ceiling on its own, causing the gate alarms to ring. This terrified Conte because it meant he would have to face Mike Morelli, the jail's most dangerous and sharp guard. Mike was known for catching even small plans. Conte picked up the plate with lightning speed and wedged it back into the ceiling. Hearing the alarm, Mike Morelli ran toward the cell. Conte immediately stood at the cell door to block the view between the guard and the ceiling. Mike arrived and asked about the noise. Conte lied, saying he was exercising and his foot hit the bed. He hid his nervousness. Mike stared at him suspiciously, scanned the cell, but found nothing and left. To prevent the plate from falling again, Conte bought chewing gum and candies from the canteen. He soaked them in water until they were hard and sticky, then mixed them to create an adhesive. He used this to stick the ceiling plate back in place. Conte tested his route by removing the plate and putting his head inside the hole. He saw a small crawling space that was pitch black and blocked by a small wall. It seemed like a dead end, and he felt his hard work was wasted. In anger, he kicked a metal rod inside the ceiling. After kicking it 3 or 4 times, dirt fell from the wall and a faint light appeared. He hit the rod harder, clearing the debris and making a hole in the wall. Peeking through, he saw the exhaust vent. He had found his way out. Conte knew he needed someone outside with a car. He turned to Tanya Goodwin, the jail counselor. Conte was intelligent and manipulated her, making her fall in love with him. Tanya was unaware she would become part of a jailbreak. Conte asked her questions about jail routes, camera locations, and guard shift timings. Tanya gave him all the information. Eventually, Conte lied to her, saying he loved her and that they needed to be free to be together. She agreed to help. He gave her a piece of paper with a contact number to arrange a car and told her where to wait. On the night of the escape, Conte wondered if Tanya would actually show up. He began preparing his exit through the exhaust vent, which was 30 feet above the ground. To get down safely, he made a long rope by braiding and knotting his blankets. Just hours before the escape, a problem arose. Mike Morelli was assigned to Conte's floor. Conte had decided never to escape while Mike was on duty. Mike did a late-night round and saw Conte awake. He asked why, and Conte smiled, saying, "I'm waiting to go home." Mike took it as a joke, wished him good luck, and left. Conte had a plan to distract the guards. He spoke to an inmate named Sammy, who agreed to start a fight. Sammy fought with a guard, drawing all guards to the scene. Conte blocked the CCTV camera and climbed into the ceiling. Conte crawled to the exhaust vent and saw Tanya with the car. Just as he was about to exit, a police truck drove by, and its headlights hit his face. He froze until the truck passed. He threw down his blanket rope and climbed down. However, a knot came undone, and he fell the last 8 feet, sustaining injuries. He ran to Tanya's car, got in, and they fled. Back at the jail, the paper carrier found the hole and the hanging sheet. The guards found the tunnel and alerted the police. A manhunt began. The police knew they had to catch him quickly before he left the 300-kilometer search area. Conte made a mistake by staying at a small hotel nearby instead of running further. Police analyzed his phone records and found he spoke mostly to Tanya Goodwin. They were shocked that she worked at the jail. Tanya was arrested at her home and confessed, revealing Conte's location at a hotel in Vidor. Police rushed to the hotel, kicked in the door, and found Conte lying on the bed. His dream of freedom was broken. He was sent to a federal jail in Victorville. Back in jail, Conte decided to find flaws in the legal system. He studied law and fought his own case. On July 24, 2020, after serving 16 years, the court granted his appeal and he was released. He met his daughter, who was born while he was in jail. Conte wrote a book about his life and became a motivational speaker. He decided to save the youth from the path of crime. He now works with community organizations, does charity, and counsels young people, sharing his story and the heavy price of freedom. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss any of our videos. Until then, peace out.